Welcome back to Desperate in Cleveland. Today is the Browns mid-season report card, where our grading will be tougher than it is to shave Greg's back hair. But first, we have a special guest lined up for today's show, Coach Eric Mangini. Coach, why don't you step in here and get away from the buffet?
Professor Josh.
How you doing today? How's it going?
All right.
So, Coach Mangini, it is a lot colder today. Is that why you're sporting a beard now?
Well, yes, I did grow a beard in the last day, but I'm Eric Mangini. I can do anything I want.
All right. Well, Coach, on today's show, we're going to give the Browns some grades.
If you wanna be a teacher's man, well, baby, you just have to get it. Rock got no reason, rock got no rhyme. You better get me to school on time.
Coach Mangini, obviously we're coming off a tough loss with the Jets this week, pretty devastating overtime loss. On today's show, we're going to be grading your team's performance in the first 9 games of the season now. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Josh. It's been an up and down season for us so far, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
All right, moving on. We're going to give the grades for the starting quarterback position. Obviously, Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback right now, with Seneca Wallace and Jake Delhomme both still nursing ankle injuries. Now, Eric Mangini, based on the performances of the quarterbacks so far this season, I'm going to give the Browns quarterbacks a B-. Colt McCoy has played well enough to keep you in games, but hasn't really won you any games, and let's face it, Seneca Wallace and Jake Delhomme did nothing but lose us a couple games. So, what do you think about giving the quarterback position a B-?
Well, I think that's kind of a fair assessment, Josh. I mean, we had our struggles early on. Jake, God, he sucks. And Seneca, he played all right. But, again, he cost us that Kansas City game with his turnovers. So
That's very true.
I think a B- is a fair rating.
All right, Coach Mangini, now we're going to move on to the running backs. Obviously, Peyton Hillis has been a stud so far this year. And I mean, what can you say about him that hasn't already been said? But Mike Bell, Jerome Harrison, James Davis, I don't even know who to add to that list, have not performed. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think that's a fair assessment again, Josh. Hillis is a special guy. He looks great with his shirt off, and I like to massage his calf muscles before the games.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed having him on the team, and if he can run it in the end zone, that's just an added bonus for us.
All right, sounds good. All right, Coach Mangini, after listening to your argument, overall I'd have to say give them a B+ based on Peyton Hillis' performance, and since we don't have anybody else, that's what we're going to go with. All right, now, Coach Mangini, we're going to move on to the tight end / I'd call it wide receiver position, but frankly, we don't have any. Obviously, Ben Watson, our leading receiver, but our second leading receiver is Peyton Hillis. What do you have to say about that when your wide receivers can't creep up that board?
Yeah, we looked at Randy Moss, but we ultimately decided against it.
Would you like to look at Randy Moss through my glasses? It might look a little better.
No, he was too much of a vertical threat for us, and he could catch the football, which is something that we don't look for in a wide receiver.
Okay, well, based on your great analysis of talent at the wide receiver position, we're going to give this a C. Now we're going to move on to the offensive line, Coach Mangini. Here, I would say, without a doubt, that we have the best left side of an offensive line in all of football. Joe Thomas, Eric Steinbach, Alex Mack are all studs and deserve the recognition that they do not get right now. So, Coach Mangini, my grade for the offensive line is an A. What would you give the offensive line?
Well, on the field, they're an A. But at the Golden Corral, they're an A+.
Okay.
Because that's where we go, win or lose after a game. And I feel like I can hold my own there. These guys put me to shame. So, their play on the field is okay. But what I'm concerned is at the buffet line. Can they step up to the plate?
Are you worried that if you get too close to Rob Ryan, he will eat you?
He tried once.
Feed me now! I'm starving!
Now we're going to move on to the defensive line / linebackers. Now, you've had good production from Marcus Bernard, who's been your best pass rusher so far with 6 sacks. And against the Jets, Shaun Rogers actually showed up and played like the defensive tackle that we thought he was capable of playing. Scott Fujita's also played very well, but, with key losses to DeQuell Jackson and Eric Barton and Dave Bowens both getting up there in age, you're losing some depth. So, I'm going to have to give them a B+. They played well, but at times they don't get enough pressure. What do you think of that?
Josh, I'm glad you asked me that question. I think that's a fair assessment. A B+. We got a lot of nobodies, but they play together well as a unit. And that's something that I like to think I taught him.
Well, what do you have to say about Matt Roth basically falling off the face of the earth this year? He was a great acquisition last year, but he has not done anything this year.
Who is Matt Roth?
Okay, that's what I thought. Coach Mangini. We're moving on to the secondary, where I've had the privilege of watching Eric Wright get burnt every week in 2 dimensions. So, would it be better if I was watching Eric Wright in 3 dimensions?
Well, with Eric Wright, we were actually going to cut him after the Baltimore game, after he gave up 3 touchdowns. But believe it or not, he has a clause in his contract that says, as long as he agrees to wash and wax my car, we're not allowed to cut him.
When Anquan Bolden was riding the back of Eric Wright the entire game against Baltimore, did it look like he was literally riding him in 3 dimensions?
Yeah, it was a special look that we got from him. He was riding him pretty good.
So Coach Mangini, I'm going to give the secondary a D. I don't have to explain it, I just have to say Eric Wright. Coach Mangini, our special teams gets a C. Phil Dawson missed a kick early in the season that could have won the game for us in Kansas City. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that was a big kick for us, Josh, and we would have liked him to make that kick instead of miss it.
At 3-6, the only thing you can give the Browns season so far is a B. They've played hard, but they've lost some tough games, and that's why I think a B is deserving for the season. They have a very good chance of being 6-2, but they sit here at 3-6. You know, really the only game that they got blown out on was the Pittsburgh game. So, Coach Mangini, what is your final assessment of the season so far?
Well, I think the head coach is doing a real good job. And he's handsome, and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And no matter how many games he wins or loses, he's probably going to get fired for John Gruden if Gruden wants to coach the Browns in the offseason. So I say the head coach gets an A, everyone else about a C. So yeah, I'd agree with the team's grade of a B.
So for Desperate in Cleveland, I'd like to say thank you for Eric Mangini for coming on our show and providing us with in-depth analysis of all that is Cleveland Browns football and the talent that is currently on the field. Whether it be Eric Wright or Colt McCoy, we do have something to look forward to. So, Coach Mangini, I would like to say thank you for coming on our low-budget, non-profit sports show.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's what I expect from Coach Eric Mangini. So, until next time, stay desperate.
This is my final exam. Now y'all know who I am. I might not be that perfect son, but y'all be rocking when I'm done.